Thank you, sir. The next speaker will be Linda Evanchyk.
Got it? Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. It's great to see all of you again. Why did I decide to go for the school board? Well, a year ago, I had to retire. I got caught up in the system called the drop. Many of you know. I didn't want to retire. The state of Florida said it was time for me to retire because of that drop system. And I was heartbroken. I love nothing better than working with students, and I've done that for 38 years in this district. Prior to that, many years before, I had considered running for the school board, but I thought it was down the road because I still wanted to stay in the classroom. So when I had to retire last summer, I started thinking about it again, and several different things came in line. Finding out that Mr. Walker was going to retire after his 24 years of service, and people approaching me and talking with my husband here, what effect this would have on my family, and a lot of prayer, I decided to become a candidate. I feel confident as a coming out of the classroom teacher this close that I'm going to be a true asset to our school board. I think we need that voice, and we've needed it, and I am confident that I can do that. I've had to work on a lot of different teams with a lot of different people, so people on the board coming from different areas should be no problem for me that I can do that. The task for a school board member is multifaceted. There's just a lot of things that we have to look at as we're on the board. But one important thing to me, and you would probably think this as a teacher, is curriculum. And Dr. Slusser talked a little bit about that, mainly with special needs students, but I'm talking overall with the curriculum. Most of you I'm seeing out there were educated when I was in the 20th century, okay? So you learned like I did out of something like this, the dictionary, the encyclopedia, those kinds of sources. And we used those sources because our education was mainly acquiring information and then giving it back to the teacher. Well, as you know, in the 21st century, of which I taught for 17 years, we don't have to worry about finding information because it's at our fingertips, and that's the world our students live in. When you were growing up, I bet you knew all your friends' phone numbers and your grandparents' phone numbers and all that. I barely know my phone number because I don't have to. I just pull it up here, okay? So we have to know curriculum and decide on curriculum that's for the 21st century student. And I feel confident I can do that having just left the classroom. I'll tell you a funny story. Last year when I was in the classroom, I taught English, so I'm not up on the top of the line math, and I had a student ask me for a calculator because he was going to his next math class, so I was going to help him, and so he comes up, so this is what I gave him. Now, he was highly insulted. I think that's pretty good, but he's like, no thank you, Ms. Evanchyk. I got that on my phone. So he was insulted. So there you go. But teachers today are having to be trained in being prepared for these students in the 21st century, and I know that because I was just there. And despite my, 20th century calculator, I was up to date on those kinds of things. Speaking of curriculum, let's talk about STEM. Instead of STEM centers, why don't we take STEM and open it up to every kid? Science and technology is not going away, folks. It's part of our lives. And so let's bring it into all the classrooms. And I would be for that. We can do that. It touches their life outside of school. It should touch their life inside of school. Now, the next thing we have to address is the environment which our students are in. They sit there 6-7 hours a day, and they're being put in some really bad environments. I was looking at some statistics. We built 11 schools in the 1950s, 13 schools in the 1960s, and 9 schools in the 1970s. Now, I went to Ocean City Elementary. I was the first group that went in there. If you're around here, you know that. It's no longer there. They tore it down. But the junior high I went to prior and the high school, still there. Doesn't that tell you something that we need to be addressing that? So we really do need to look at that. So how are we going to do it? And talking about safety, trying to harden these old schools is like putting a padlock on a shack. And you can't do it, okay? So he's telling me I've got little time, but we need to look at some sales tax and we need to restructure our budget so that we can get the funds to give our students the best. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your vote in August.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Dr. Diane Kelley.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Most of you have now heard me speak, and you know that I very rarely speak with notes. But because our time is limited tonight, I do plan to read a lot from notes so that I can cover as much material as possible on the 12 or 13 points that you guys had listed for us to cover. So here we go. Why am I running for school board? I'm running for school board, simply stated, because I want to continue to make a difference for the teachers and students in Okaloosa County. I feel that my significant background and experience in schools and in school systems and in improving student achievement, which is what we're all about, are the best fit for the roles that a school board member plays. There will not be a conflict of interest with me on your school board. I will be able to vote on every item that comes before us. I will not have to recuse myself due to a conflict of interest. I will not have a steep learning curve as your school board member. I do not have an axe to grind, a personal vendetta, or a plan to use this office as a stepping stone to something greater in the future. I am a proven leader, having earned the respect of parents, teachers, colleagues, students, and business leaders in all 3 zones of this district. I don't owe an allegiance to any group or to any pack of voters. My vote will be based on every item that comes before us on its own merit and on the basis of how important it is to students and to their continued growth. That's what I'm all about. That's what I represent. We are here for the students and to serve them. I will work off my own conscience. I have many other elements that we may not get to tonight, but I want you to know that these are the other items significant to me. Student safety, late start times, charter versus public schools, sales tax to support infrastructure needs. Look at all of the things on my brochure that have been in existence since August when these were printed. Please read those. Let's talk about Amendment 8, since that was one of the items on your suggested list. Amendment 8, proposed by the Constitutional Amendment Committee, bundles 3 amendments into one voting measure. In case you don't know, they were bundled together because they all impact K-12 education. 2 of the 3 I am ardently for. I am for term limits for school board members. I am for, as a former civics education teacher, I am for having students be responsible voters and responsible citizens when they leave our schools. I'm fine with having civics as a requirement. The only subject in this amendment that would be in the Constitution. The one that concerns me a little bit bundled in with this amendment is that the charter schools might no longer require an amendment, an agreement, a memorandum of understanding with the school boards. Now they would only have to have state approval. But I want you to know that 3 days ago, the Chambers of Commerce across Florida did a poll, and out of the 13 amended or proposed amendments that the commission decided upon, out of the 13, 4, according to this poll, will be passed. This is one of them. If it passes, of course, I will be a supporter of all the elements. But I just wanted you to know what that bundle meant, that you're voting on all of them together rather than them separated out. How much time do I have back there? Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, let's talk about adding 9th grade to the STEM Academy. I happen to be experienced in adding a whole grade level to your school, as I was asked to take all of the 5th grade while I was principal at Destin Middle. So I know that there are some steps you need to do to be successful. First of all, you need to have collaboration with the involved principals and parents, and they need to know at least a year out, in my humble opinion. We were not able to always do that. But those are the things you need to do. You need to alleviate the fears on the parts of the parents and have full cooperation of all the people that impacts. Now, with that being said, what would I do as your District 5 board member? The first thing I would do is call the principal of the STEM Academy. I did have quite a long, lengthy conversation with Wanda just last night, and she said that she is not in favor of adding the 9th grade, and here's why. And I concur with her and would support her as your District 5 school board member. There are 3 reasons. One is that she wants to stay true to the vision and mission of that school, which is to be a solid STEM middle school. 2 is that she wants not to be in competition with the high school's AP and IB programs that teach some of the same concepts that the STEM Center teaches. And thirdly, middle schoolers at the STEM Academy are just like middle schoolers everywhere in at least this one way and several others too. But middle schoolers strive to go to their high school at the end of their middle school years. They work for that. That's a culturally attainable thing for them. They want to leave middle school and go to high school. It's a rite of passage for them. I have many other ideas I'd love to talk to you about, but my time is up. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Our last speaker on these topics will be Dr. McAllister.
Hello, everyone. Dr. McAllister, running for School Board District 5, and I really appreciate the opportunity to participate in this forum and appreciate the hard work that went into it. I was inspired to represent you on your school board for some very simple reasons. I came to the county 30 years ago while I was on active duty, and we decided to make this our home after my military retirement, specifically because of our outstanding school system, where my kids got their start. It was a great decision because they completed their elementary and secondary education here and went on to successful academic and professional careers as a result. When I retired from my second career in industry, I decided that this seat on the school board was the best use of my talents and experience and the best opportunity for me to give back to the county and the school system that's been so good to me and my family. We have an excellent school system, largely because of the outstanding work being done daily by our teachers and our support personnel and the principals, such as my wife, who are in the trenches every day, doing the work to educate and safeguard our kids. With the oldest infrastructure in the state, what else accounts for the fact that we're evaluated as number 2 or at least number 2 or number 1 out of 67 counties? So I'm proud to have earned the endorsement of those outstanding people because they know, those teachers and principals and support personnel, what I would bring to the school board and how those attributes would enable me to be more, to make them more effective and to keep them and their students safe on our campuses. Outstanding organizations such as our excellent school system do not become great by accident, and they don't stay great by accident. Quite the contrary. Now, you all know, and we've talked, there are strategic issues that threaten the excellence and the safety of our school system. Population growth, old infrastructure, old buses, a mismatch of resources and needs, lack of mental health counseling, unsecure campuses, and so on. In my professional careers, I've gained extensive experience with these kinds of strategic issues, and I've been a proactive problem solver, working collaboratively across many agencies, understanding resource constraints, working with relevant stakeholders, looking long-term, and being able to prioritize needs. In short, exhibiting, teaching, and facilitating strategic thinking. In addition, as a military commander and industry executive, I've had high standards of performance for my people, and while caring empathetically for those people doing the work and empowering them to be innovative in the workplace. Over the past 30 years, I've also been intensely involved in our schools as a volunteer, as an advisor, as a mentor, as a coach, SAC member, Booster Club president, member of advisory councils, including the Career Technical Education Council, and numerous conversations with leadership and staff. And my wife's been a teacher and now a principal for almost 42 years. We've been married. In short, I have a solid understanding of how our school system works in our district. Now, building teams has been a trademark since, in my experience, from my first day as a cadet at the Air Force Academy 47 years ago. I've been talking consistently during this campaign about collaborative teamwork as a pillar of my campaign, and for almost a year now I've had those conversations. I know from experience that building collaborative teams, often with diverse backgrounds and across multiple agencies, can lead to very effective problem solving. How to do it on the school board is clearly a challenge. Because of sunshine laws, as you all know, it's not possible for board members to have substantive discussions outside public meetings. And that's a hurdle that must be overcome. And here's how I would do that. Work hard to understand the issues. Work hard to understand the perspectives of other board members. Work hard towards consensus. Be willing to meet more frequently and longer if that's necessary, and seek opportunities for collaboration. And of course, focus on the most pressing of issues, the strategic issues that threaten our district. At this moment in the life of our school system, these are the attributes that are needed on the board that our citizens understand and that they consistently call for. Because that's what boards do. That's what our school board needs to do, and that's to look at the strategic issues that threaten our district. So I would ask, if not the school board, then who do we expect to tackle those strategic problems that threaten our school system? And if not now, when? And if we need strategic focus, then who has that? To paraphrase, the people are asking, whom shall we send? And I say, send me. I look forward to your questions. Vote for me, August 28th, McAllister in the school board. Thank you so much.